Good afternoon, good people. This is your host, Calvin Anderson, for the Check In With podcast. Today, we have another amazing guest who, when we spoke the other day, she had so much insight into couples therapy, and her work is just so astounding. So when you hear her today, please do get in touch with her and take in everything she says in our episode today. So I'm going to introduce her, and she's going to give us a little bit of her background and her work that she does amazingly, by the way. So ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Maryam Samar. Maryam, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you very much, and thank you for introducing me. That's such a great introduction, and I am very excited to be here.
I am so grateful to have you. Maryam, for the listeners, can you, before we get into our questions, can you give us just a little bit about the work you do and how long you've been in our field for?
Okay, so I'm a psychotherapist. I've started my counselling journey quite late. This is my second career. Um, it was around when I was 35. I decided I need to change my career and then get into counseling, and that's how I started training myself. So I have been practicing for almost 8 years now, including my kind of other clinical kind of placements and practice and all of that. And I started off doing individual counseling, but recently it's been a year that I've been seeing couples as well. So I'm very much focused on relationships and getting kind of really inspired by working with couples.
Maryam, for the listeners, because you mentioned relationships, what makes a fruitful relationship? What needs to be the foundation for a relationship to thrive, would you say?
Oh, that's a really complex question, actually, because I think with my own kind of personal journey as well, and then seeing in front of the couples, what I picked up on that it is person to person, but also it's really important that it's not based on just infatuation and physical attraction or anything like that. But it's really important to kind of discuss if two people hold similar values, they have similar kind of outlook to life, goals, and how they would be supporting each other. Because I think we kind of really missed out on this idea of if our values align with each other as well. We focus on so much having fun together, going out together, having those kind of experiences. But I think the foundation is that can we align with same, having same values and then build up that kind of idea of relationship together.
I love that you mentioned it having to be person to person. And in some ways, when you're speaking about like going out and having fun, if I use the analogy of like fireworks, like there's so much pizzazz and so much, brightness. But when when it's raining,
Yeah, it all goes down,
it all
right?
goes down.
Yeah.
So I love that you mentioned it has to be, person to person, same values, same
Yeah,
morals, and building upon
yeah.
each other's weaknesses and strengths,
No,
ultimately.
absolutely. And I think it's really important to then also think that are these two people willing to negotiate? Are these people willing to compromise? Are these people able to repair the conflict and be okay with the conflict as well? Because that's the real life challenges, I think,
Yeah.
between two people. It's just not all about having a good time together and having this idea that this is all it's going to look like. I think it's about the complexity and the complications and the things that you can work together is much more significant for two people to sit down and have one idea about it. How are they supposed to do that, and are they willing to put that effort into each other as well? Because the thing is, me and you, we were just talking about before that, about social media and Instagram and TikTok and everything. This is the time when everything needs to be quite instant. Everything is displayed right in front of us. So we are very much, our brains are kind of wired to just move on very quickly. If we don't like certain feeds, we just move on to another one. We don't have a capacity and patience to just watch the whole thing. I think that has this kind of idea and this kind of habits we are just kind of bringing into relationships as well. We are instantly making decisions. Something doesn't work. Okay, we're just going to move on. And we feel such an honor in doing that, okay, we are entitled in doing that rather than putting more effort, rather than being a little bit more patient and working through it. I think that this idea of kind of like instant culture is implementing quite a lot into our interactions and building relationships as well.
Maryam, that's so key, just in terms of what you said about it being instant and not, if you don't like something, you can quickly dismiss it, and that then being fed into relationships, not wanting to sit down and do the work, just kind of like, if something goes wrong, okay, I'm gonna dismiss it and I'm gonna do something else. So that is so powerful what you mentioned. Maryam, how do we form relationships? Like, what is our, or if you can give like a, in regards to your work in couples therapy, in terms of like, how do we form a relationship that is both beneficial, both healthy, and one that we can work on to continue to build to get stronger? How do we form that?
I mean, I was thinking about, first of all, what is the definition of relationship? People are very much kind of scared of the word of this relationship. Like, two people are dating, or they're seeing each other, or they started kind of interacting with each other. It's so much of an emphasis on like, oh, we are not in a relationship right now. We're not. But what are we doing then, right? Because relationship is just kind of a massive umbrella, and it has so many other kind of aspects to it as well. There are personal relationships, there are business relationships, there are conceptual relationships as well, like a relationship with the concept of creating something, and relationship with an object as well, a relationship with the idea of inventing something. Those are the relationships as well. For me, it's really important that what is the intent of going into a relationship? That's really important. I think people just forget about the intention. People are very confused in what they want, what they're looking for, what would fulfill them. And I think in this idea of being completely lost, they don't know what they want in their life, I guess. And so many other kind of terminology is kind of coming up on these on this topic, situationship, and what does that look like? But answering your question again, going back to, I think it's very much dependent on a person. What they're looking for, what is their intention in going in a relationship, what kind of outcome do they want from that relationship? Some people believe in marriage, some people don't believe in marriage, some people believe in partnership, companionship, and how would they want to look like? And again, coming back to the values, how would you value a relationship? These are the initial questions, and very important questions that people miss out when they go out and date or just start seeing each other. What do we want from each other? What are we looking for? Are we happy to kind of negotiate on that and compromise on that? And I think for me, I can't really put a finger on something that this is how the relationships are formed and this is how relationships would look like. I think it depends on between two people, how they're going to create that for themselves and be comfortable with that. That's more important, I guess. And I think it comes it definitely in couples work as well. When couples are coming for a therapy, they only come because they know things are not working. No one's going to come to the therapist, when things are working. But I still feel like it's really important to just every now and then just to check in. It's like taking a car to for a service. Even if the car is running, let's check it out if everything is okay. With somebody who doesn't know us, who just sits, outside of our world that we have created. Let's see what they think of it. Let's see, maybe they can tap into something that we haven't seen. It's like one of those blind spots. And my initial question with a couple is that, what do you want from this counseling? Because the idea to come here and thinking that you're going to fix everything, the idea of fixing is very kind of, how do I say that? I mean, I don't sit well with the idea of fixing things. I think for me, it's more about the self-discovery. We're going to discover something about what is happening between two people, or what is happening between us, that we are not being able to tap into that, but maybe somebody else is going to highlight that for us. And are we willing to work on that? So the idea of coming and fixing thing is having such high expectations, I think, from the therapist and from the marriage itself. I think it's the idea of let's just discover what's going to come out, and are we willing to work through that?
That's a powerful statement. Let's discover and let's find out what the outcome will be.
Yeah.
Maryam, take me further into your couples work. What is the preparation when working with couples that you would say is different to just working with an individual?
Okay. For me, I want to know them individually, where they are coming from and what their background is, because the way I have trained is, and I focus on the very much of the history of their with their parents and their background and the upbringing and the environment and conditioning and all of those things play a massive part in relationships. So first of all, it's all about the assessment first, with both of the people finding out what do they expect from counseling, what are they looking from this kind of process, are they committed to the process, how consistent they are. And then I separate them. I see them individually, and I try to get to know them individually, looking at their relationships with their parents, looking at their upbringings, their defenses, their triggers, the way they emotionally regulate themselves, and also looking into their attachment styles. Then I bring both of them together and I ask them to introduce their partners to me, because it's a really good way of seeing that how the other person is seeing, their partner, and how what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what their good things are. And sometimes it's really interesting because when one person introducing the other person seems very shocked, and it's really nice for me to see the other person's body language, the person who's sitting on the receiving end. Sometimes they say that my partner has said these things that they've never said it to me ever. And I feel so excited that I never knew that they saw so many nice things about me. So, that's the start of the process, which then lays the whole kind of grounding for our work together.
That's so powerful. I love how you spoke about letting the couples introduce each other, learning about what their attachment styles are, and seeing their body language and building a base from that. I think that's so amazing. Is this first session, or is this things that happen during sessions that you're saying to me? Or is this like the beginning session you do?
So the first session would be the assessment of both of them to be together, and the second session would be individually seeing both of the couples. Third session would be bringing both of them together and then asking them to introduce each other.
Yeah.
And then listening to their feedback, how they felt when the other person was introducing. The idea is to see them individually is because sometimes in my work, what I have noticed, these are the things that I have learned along the way. I've decided that this is how I'm going to do it after doing different methods and stuff. It's because sometimes two people want completely two different outcomes. One wants to fix the relationship, the other wants to get out of the relationship. And it's very difficult when you put both of them together to ask them, tell me, what do you want from it? One person who wants to come out of the relationship feels that they are not allowed to say, and they're not allowed to be authentic because they might get rejected, or certain things that they don't like about their partner, they can't say in front of the partner because the partner might get really distressed and upset. So it's really nice to see them individually, to give them that space to just be themselves and tell me what are they looking for and what do they want. And then for me to kind of hold that space for both of them when they come together. because I know what each and every person wants. So my work becomes a little bit more complicated after that. And I have to then create that framework where I need to facilitate both of their needs.
So powerful, Maryam. I just like the way that you firstly said that you've built the way you work with couples. Like you've tailored it to the best way that can produce your best work and also bring out the best work in your clients also. You mentioned a key word just there. You said framework. I would love to know, I guess, your guidelines and your framework for working with couples.
My guidelines and framework, I mean, I think I'm still building a framework because coming into doing it just only for a year, I don't think it's enough. So as I said that in the beginning, I was seeing the clients in a very different way. And then I kind of navigated my way into bringing them separate because I've learned that I think it's really important to see people individually and give them that space to be themselves and then bring them together. But with the framework, I think it's very obvious that the way the way I work with individuals, I try to bring exactly the same kind of idea working with couples as well, and creating those kind of boundaries between two people, because sometimes, they're very angry at each other, and I have to have these conversations when we start the journey into the counseling together, to say that, let's not use the language of blaming each other, but owning your kind of feelings. Again, the emphasis is on I language. So the other person doesn't feel that they're being interrogated or being blamed or pointed out, because then that creates a very tensed, triggered, frustrating environment in the room. And my job is just to sit and then try to decompress all of those emotions and regulate all of these emotions, and not just to bring all of them out, but then if they are out, then my job is how I'm going to manage for both of them. And sometimes I use certain interventions. So, for example, I give them, those kind of interventions to go home and try as well. What I felt that, especially not specifically pointing out on genders or anything like that, but mostly I've felt that men feel a little bit guilty to express themselves in front of their female partners because they feel that they're going to upset their female partner. And sometimes what happens when the female partner becomes really distressed and upset and cry, they shut down. So they don't allow themselves to just, fully open and be authentic in the process. So what I do, I just sit them down on the floor, back to back. So one person they're both facing opposite, but they are joined. So the backs are kind of joined together. And then I ask them questions. So it gives the opportunity to both of them to be honest and authentic, not facing each other, and not seeing the other person is just like breaking down and crying, but feeling each other through the vibrations of their back. So they're still not separated. They're still joined together.
Yeah.
And that exercise I use with most of the clients, and it's really powerful how things become so easy for them. I mean, especially for them to communicate with each other. So one person doesn't shut down, the other person is really distressed, and they both are able to express as much as they can. And they try that. They take that interventions home, and they try that at home as well.
That's a very powerful intervention, Maryam. I don't think I've ever heard of a technique like that, because when you explain it to me, when you first mentioned about, the male being guilty of saying things and then seeing the reaction of the female partner, now you're saying with your intervention, having them back to back, where they're both looking at two completely different sides of the room, and all they have to go off now is the vibrational tone from the person's voice.
Absolutely.
Any movement they may feel.
Yeah.
And from there, kind of, I guess, they both can feel each other, but they can't see the expression.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so good because, and I guess just kind of putting myself in the actual intervention just from a visual standpoint, for me, if I was being told to do that, I guess for me, the feelings that would then conjure up is, okay, this is what I've done. This is how the person really feels.
Yeah.
I wonder what their face would look like. I wonder how they're actually saying. I wonder how much of what's happened has affected them so much. So what do I do now to change that effect and change this feeling that I can feel?
Yeah.
And in some ways, as you said it, I kind of feel like them being back to back, you can actually start to feel the weight of the individual.
Absolutely. And the vibration when the other person speaks is a really good contact, actually. Because what happens when I asked the feedback of my client, how did that feel
Yeah.
doing this exercise? So the distressed female would say, actually, by hearing the sound of his voice and feeling the vibration as he talks, takes my mind completely away from my own distress, but I immediately tapped into his emotions and focused on what he was saying.
Powerful.
Because what happened normally when couples sit in front of each other, there's no, I mean, yes, there's an eye contact, or maybe sometimes there isn't an eye contact because there might be shame, there might be guilt, there's so much nervousness and anxiousness and everything, and two people are not connecting with each other. And then I thought how wonderful it would be that is to make them have this body contact and feeling each other's frequencies and vibrations through hearing their emotions as well and their voice.
Yeah.
Is still so much, I mean, it's such a great connection, it's such a great contact. And I always had such a great feedback hearing the couple that, it really works for both of them.
No, it sounds amazing. It sounds impactful. And it really sounds like it's creating a greater connection between two people outside of them sitting next to each other.
Absolutely.
So I think that's amazing. I really love that technique, Maryam. And as you're talking about interventions, and you just gave a powerful one just now, speak to me about the language used within couples therapy and how you navigate and how you monitor that.
I mean, language is very, very important to me because it has such a massive impact on ourselves, the way we speak to ourselves and we speak to others.
Yeah.
Just a simple example, when somebody says that I feel sad, has a different kind of outlook to it compared to when somebody says I am sad. Because when somebody says I am sad, they're consuming the whole sadness and they become the sadness. When they say I am feeling sad, there's some form of kind of like a dissociation from the sadness. The sadness is there, but it's not me. I am going to work on that. So for me, how you say things holds such, power. So the words are very, very important. So
Absolutely.
for me, when I do the assessment, and assessment can go on assessment is just like collecting data and information, how two people interact, or how, when I work with individual as well, how they're talking about themselves, how they're talking about their parents, their friends, their siblings or partners. So for me, it's really important to just like collect all of that data and then bring it back to them to say that, this is what I have seen, that this is how you speak to yourself, and then this is how you speak to your partner, and let's kind of change the language around it as well. And I think it has such a great impact on the relationship because communication, as you know, is the key.
Absolutely.
So much gets missed when we don't communicate. There's so many assumptions, there's so many kind of ideas that we hold in our mind, and we don't present that to the other person, thinking that they're a mind reader and they're going to just like, read my mind and, this is what I want and the person's going to do it for me. But this is not how it works. So for me, the emphasis is on the language, how you present yourself to your partner.
Yeah.
And how you present your partner to other people as well, and how you speak about them and how you speak about yourself. And I think there's so much alterations that I make with them, and sometimes I'm thinking of some form of an example, and it's just not popping into my mind because I want to give an example of certain things. But it will come back. It will come back, definitely.
You've given us preparation, your framework, the language. For the listeners, Maryam, can you, I guess, give them a basis of what couples therapy is and what are the benefits of people attending it?
I mean, as I said before, the couples therapy, couples think that when things go wrong, they just want to come and they're going to fix we're going to fix the relationship for them.
Yeah.
But again, I said that for me, it's not about fixing, it's about discovering what has gone wrong and what do we want. Because sometimes, it takes a turn and people think that, we are not going to be aligned, together, and we are completely parallel to each other. There's no way that things are going to work out. And I think, and that's a positive outcome as well. You don't have to waste your time into a relationship and trying to fix something which is not fixable. I think the idea is am I willing to understand, and am I willing to accept that maybe it's not fixable? Maybe, I need to evaluate what's going on in my life and both of our lives. And that can be a positive outcome, as I said. So for me, when they come, I ask them, okay, what are your expectations? And I just lay out the more realistic picture for them. This process is about a self-discovery. This process is about discovering what we want from this and what life looks like for both of us. So I think it's really important to just kind of check in. I wouldn't say expert, but I would say with somebody who does not probably know too much about you, and they don't live in your world and they live outside of your world.
Yeah.
To show them this is what it looks like, and what do you think? What do you think we should be doing about that? We really, distress is causing us kind of upset and is causing harm. These kind of stresses, the research says that these kind of stresses has a massive impact on our biology as well. People get really ill in the process of trying to fix something which is not fixable. So I think, again, going back to the framework, is trying to build that understanding. And I think trying to tap into the psyche of these two people, where they're coming from and what triggers them. The one partner doesn't even know that, when I say certain thing, that triggers my partner. Am I willing to stop saying certain things? Am I compassionate towards my partner, not to be using certain words? And I think it's really important that these two people understand the baggage that they're bringing into the relationship and the history that they're bringing into the relationship as well. Sometimes people are not, I have couples that they don't know much information about each other's history, each other's traumas, each other's, the relationship with their parents in depth. And those are the unmet needs that we go out and seek in intimate partners. The attachment that we never got from our parents, that's the attachment we go out and seek in the intimate setting. And I think to bring that to the table is really important, mapping everything out to see what it looks like. Is it going to work or is not going to work? I think that's the process.
It's a powerful process.
It is.
I like how you said about mapping it out, putting it on the table and both parties looking at what it looks like.
Yeah.
Looking at the terrain and how we manage it and how do we travel through it.
Yeah. Hi, this is Maryam Samar, and you are tuned into the Check In with podcast. I think timeline is a really good thing. really good intervention as well.
Tell me more.
Yeah, just to ask the couples to bring their timeline. So different things that had happened in their life, good things and bad things, the massive transitions in their life prior to people's meeting up with each other. Let's bring that. And then the timeline of them together. What have they achieved together? Where have they traveled together? What kind of, difficulties that they had together? Put them that in front of each other and trying to understand how the journey has been, because although when two people are together, but they still live very individual life, because it's all about the perception, right? How we perceiving our contact with another person. That's a very subjective experience.
Yeah.
So I think bringing that to the limelight as well, and seeing if the other person understands your journey, your life journey, and willing to accept you through that life journey. It's really important. And bringing that authenticity into the process as well. Like, am I allowed to be authentic? Am I allowed to be myself in this, companionship or relationship? Am I shutting certain parts of myself? Am I hiding because this is my background and that's never been kind of accepted in the world? Therefore, I need to hide myself from this person as well. So I think it's really important to put yourself out there authentically and see if both of them are willing to accept each other. I think that forms a really great friendship between two people. Because the idea of friendship is like two people are very authentic, right? They are authentic. Good friendship. What is the core of the good friendship?
Yeah.
I feel myself with that person. I know that this person is not going to judge me. I feel a sense of freedom with this person. We are partner in crime. We can do anything together. And I think when that's missing in a relationship, that's where it becomes inauthentic.
I love how you mentioned, showing up authentically
Hmm.
and really just asking yourself the question, or being honest with yourself in terms of, can I actually carry this person? And can I really see them within their life's journey? Can I really see them through it?
Yeah.
And am I actually meant to be a part of it? Or because I really like this person, or whatever the lens is I see them in it, am I actually meant to be a part of their journey?
Yeah.
Or am I meant to just bear witness from an outside perspective?
Absolutely.
So I love when you mentioned about authenticity and honesty.
Yeah.
Before, I guess, developing a relationship or going forward with one. Or
Yeah.
And when you're saying that, also kind of sense of understanding what level of relationship you have with a person, if it's platonically, if it's romantically, if it's a work relationship, if it's whatever relationship it is, and staying in that space, because that's where you fit in. So I really, really, really loved what you said. No, go ahead. I feel like you want
No,
to
I'm really, I was going to mention that I'm a fan of Gabor Mate's work. He talks a lot about the authenticity, what the authenticity is. And I think that's, for me, it's really important to, even in individual work with someone and with couples, how authentic they are. Are they in touch with themselves? Do they have a good relationship with themselves? Because that's the driver of any relationship that you have outside of yourself.
Yeah.
So with the individual people, when I work, it's all about tapping into how they perceive themselves, and what kind of relationship do they have with themselves. Some people just come and say, oh, I have an enormous amount of trust issues. I can't trust, therefore I can't be in a relationship. But then soon as I ask them, do you trust yourself? Oh, I'm not quite sure, actually. Because in every time I make a decision, I doubt myself. So I think that's where the work is. That I think you need to have a stable, good relationship with yourself before you go out of yourself to connect with other people. So for me, it's really important to form that kind of stability within yourself, I guess.
Yeah. How would one form that stability, Maryam? What would be the steps they need to take?
I think therapy is amazing, and I think uh, for a therapist to ask these important questions to their client as well. Because when I have an assessment with people, I say to them that I'm going to be honest, that I am not going to be the therapist who's just going to sit back and just agree and nod to everything that you're going to say. I'm going to poke you, I'm going to challenge you, I'm going to inquire, I'm going to shake you, and I'm going to be proactive in this process. Because if you are I need to change the lens, the way they look at the life. I need to give them different lens. Because if they are going to see life through their lens, then nothing's going to be different for them. Or I always say that let's create a new formula, because you've been using this formula for a very long time.
Yeah.
And the outcome is outcome is always very similar, and you're not happy with the outcome. So we need to create something different to start applying to see a different outcome. So in doing that, I have to challenge my clients. I think sometimes people need to be challenged a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Talk to me on challenging, because that's something that's come up a few times as therapists. How important is it, Maryam, to challenge your client? What does that do for them? What does that do for you?
I mean, what does that do for the client?
Mm-hmm.
It's, whatever I'm doing is doing for the interest of client.
Yes.
So it just make them look at something that they probably never paid attention to. I'm not going. I was thinking of the word accountability, but that's not the right word, because they're not accountable to anything when they come and sit with us. But still, just looking at the different direction.
Mm.
Are they willing to look at sideways or behind them, or are they just going to have this tunnel vision and just keep going, but that's not doing anything to them?
Yeah.
So we can't give suggestions or advice or anything like that. We're not trained to do that. So how else we're going to make them think a little bit differently is to challenge their thoughts and the way they're living. How about, changing something here? Or saying that, why don't you ever try to change that? What's the resistance? So I think resistance is another thing. Where is the resistance coming from? Is it coming from fear? Is it coming from um, not feeling comfortable in doing something that probably have, different sort of consequences? Because we get really comfortable in doing the same thing over and over again. And sometimes when you change the direction or nudge a person, it comes with a lot of difficulties. So when I start challenging my clients, they do become quite distressed. That's not the whole idea, to distress them. But then it makes them think that life is more than what we've been, living, or more than just being comfortable.
Yeah.
And maybe implying something more challenging, and implying more something, pushing ourselves.
Mm.
That's the whole idea of the organism, though, right? The organism is alive. If the organism is trapped in one little box, it's going to die. The idea of the organism is just the movement.
Mm.
And if they're not moving, then they're not evolving.
If they're not moving, they're not evolving. That's so true. You said something that was so piqued my interest when you said about accountability wasn't the right word that you wanted to use.
But do you think it's the right word? In this process.
In this process, it's a tough one,
It is, isn't it?
because I want to say yes, in terms of being accountable to the process of, I guess, showing up and making sure your work is done.
Yeah.
But then the other side of that is they actually don't have to be if they don't want to. They literally don't need to do anything. They don't need to show up.
Absolutely.
They could say, yeah, I want a session next week and not come. But I guess it's down to the individual. But I wanted to hear more on that from you because, yeah, I don't think I've heard that yet in terms of the accountability aspect.
Yeah, I mean, if we see ourselves as a mirror
Yes.
for the client, then they are probably, in this process, they're only accountable to themselves, right? They're the one who made the commitment to show up.
Yeah.
Yes, we signed the contract with them. They're the one who has to be consistent. They're the one who wants to improve. So they come to us and we, as mirror, just mirror everything. You know, that's how we initially got trained, right? We're paraphrasing everything, you know, we are mirroring them and we are bouncing everything back to them. So we are showing them their true selves through that mirror. So if it's not with us, then they are accountable to themselves, I guess. So the idea of accountability probably does kind of exist in this process as well.
What word did you want to use for that instead of accountability? What was?
I just got a little bit scared of this kind of like the accountability because I just don't want my clients to think that, you know, I am sitting here in some sort of authoritative position and they are accountable to me.
Yeah.
And I've heard them saying that sometimes, that, you know, if I say, I don't really give homework or anything like that. I do give a little bit of interventions to try sometimes, but I do say to them, it will be really nice for you to have a little journal at the beginning of the process. And whatever comes out during this interaction, just jot it down. I don't want you to start writing paragraphs or anything like that. Reflect back on this kind of session that we had. Whatever insight comes out, whatever you took from this session, just put some bullet points. And I think it's really nice of having a little journal to look back and see how they have progressed and how they have built through that journey.
Yeah.
And most of them, they like the idea. And sometimes I ask my clients, what came up then? You know, should we just check in and say, oh, I had to do it last minute because I felt like I was accountable. You're going to ask me. So that's what I'm worried about, that I don't want them to ever feel that they are accountable to me.
Yeah.
But only to themselves. This is their work.
That's so true.
That's their progress. That's their journey. That's their work.
Yeah. Powerful. Thank you for unpacking that for me, because that makes so much sense. Being accountable to themselves.
Yeah.
And not being accountable to someone else or to someone who they think is in a higher authority, like you mentioned. Because I guess in some ways that could be even more stressful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That can have, you know, a really negative impact on their process as well, that they have to show up to me and then they have to, they're answerable to me or something. And this is not how it is.
Yeah. Especially like with the work that they're doing, and they may not be in a space to do that because doing that in their own personal lives has had a mad effect. So to try and do it here when it's supposed to be a safe space, it could blur the lines in a way.
Absolutely.
But I definitely fully agree with you in terms of it being.
And the idea is to create the environment where you feel that two human beings are sitting together and talking and being open.
Yeah.
You know, not the therapist, but the therapist is to facilitate that environment for the client. And for me is normalizing, you know, every kind of emotion in the process, because, you know, for me, humor is really important as well. So I laugh with my clients as well. That makes them feel that, you know, it's not this clinical environment where the other person is just sitting and taking notes, but I'm going to see another human and I'm okay to just joke a little bit and laugh. And
Mm.
I know that she's going to react to that as well.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. And I got very good feedback from my client to, regarding that sort of interaction, that they feel at ease during the process. They feel that they're sitting in someone's living room rather than, in a therapy room or something like that.
Yeah. Amazing. Maryam, before you go, I want to throw some rapid fun questions at you just so
Oh,
the
dear.
just so the listeners can get to know you. What is your favorite season and why?
Oh, favorite season, autumn.
Why autumn?
Because first of all, I love the colors of autumn, and I like the transition of seeing the nature kind of losing, all of the beautiful leaves or anything, but still looking amazing in that in that kind of form. And it makes me feel that this is part of the process. This is part of life. We always think about being positive all the time. But what is the idea of being positive? Positive is not waking up being happy and smiling all the time, but positive is there's a hope. Things are going to work out.
Yeah.
That's what's being positive is. Waking up, and even the things are so bad, to say that I believe that things are going to work out. This is my positivity. And I think the weather, autumn, represents that to me. Hope.
Hope. If you could work anywhere remotely, where would it be and why?
You mean country or?
Anywhere you like, a place, location, country, anywhere.
Oh, remotely.
Yeah.
I had an idea actually before. There's a therapy, ecotherapy or something like that, where you just go out for a walk in nature with your clients.
Yeah.
And you chat to them while you're walking.
Walk and talk therapy, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would like to do actually.
Hmm.
I would like to try that.
Yeah.
Closer to the nature, being active, having that movement, and then still talking and normalizing the interaction rather than just sitting face to face.
Sounds powerful. Really powerful. Do you have a favorite quote, Maria?
Ooh, favorite quote. Yeah, so my favorite quote is from Carl Jung.
Okay.
So the journey to self-discovery is a journey of exploration, not a destination.
Why that quote specifically?
Because I think the focus is always about the goal. And when we're focusing on the goal, we forget the experience that we're having through that journey. And I think the experience is quite significant. We learn so much through experience.
So true.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite book or film?
My favorite book. I have so many favorite books. I can't just pinpoint one. I have a list of favorite books actually, so I don't know if that's gonna work. But favorite film,
Yes.
oh, that's gonna sound ridiculous, honestly. My favorite film,
No, go ahead.
which I kind of is Titanic.
That's a classic film, Maria. That's not bad.
It has a lot of association of my personal life as well, so therefore I really like the film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Titanic.
Yes.
All right. What's your favorite cuisine?
My favorite cuisine is an authentic Pakistani food.
Okay.
That's where I'm from.
That's where you're from.
Yes.
Nice.
And I love that. It just reminds me of my childhood, being with my parents, being with my family. So yeah, I love that. But I love all kind of food.
Okay.
I can eat anything. Yeah.
You're a foodie. Okay.
I'm a foodie. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I want you to finish this sentence for me. If it wasn't for therapy, I would be...
A dancer.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
I love dancing because I feel when we move our body, it kind of de-stress us. And I love the movement. I love the expression and the connection to music. So if I wasn't, the therapy came really late in my life.
Yeah.
By that time, I thought I have no chance to become a dancer. But yeah, that's what I would have been.
Incredible.
A contemporary dancer.
And lastly, you've given us so much today, Maryam. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with before we go? Any advice? Any last gems before we leave?
Last gems. I mean, it's to do with therapy. Don't be afraid of therapy and going through the process. Put yourself out there and see what's going to come out. What are you going to discover about yourself? Because before I went into counselling, I had absolutely no idea of therapy. I thought I had absolutely no problems. I'm fine. There's nothing going on in my life that needs any kind of assessment or any help. But then through studying counseling, it was mandatory for me to be in therapy. And oh boy, so much came out. So much came out. And I learned so much about myself. I think that's the best thing I've done. And I'm still doing it. So yeah, just give it a go and see how it's going to unfold.
Amazing. Maryam, people have heard you speak today and they want to get in touch with you. What would be the best way to get in touch with you?
They can DM me on my Instagram. I am a registered therapist through BACP as well. Counselling directories. If they put my name, I'll pop up. I mean, those are the platforms that they can contact me.
Peachy. Amazing. Maryam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, anytime. And
Pleasure.
this won't be the last time, listeners, that we hear from Maryam. And she has such a bright future in 2025 ahead of her. So please keep a lookout for her journey. I have been your host today, Calvin Anderson. We've had Maryam Samar with us. And yes, have a lovely, lovely week. Take care, speak soon, and God bless.